On the 2nd of July 2025, the UK government voted to classify Palestine Action as a terrorist organisation. This gives the Home Office full powers to arrest, charge and imprison anyone who funds, organises or even supports them. You can now get up to 14 years in prison just for wearing a Palestine Action badge, just for sharing a link, just for showing up at a protest. This vote was led by Starmer's front bench. It passed by 385 votes to 26. Labour MPs mostly backed it. Yvette Cooper, the new Home Secretary, is the one who ordered this crackdown. Yvette Cooper has taken £165,000 from private contractors and think tanks. Labour as a whole took £2 million from Stuart Chin, an arms investor with open Zionist ties. Labour together, the think tank backing this policy, is full of Atlantic Council, NATO and City of London people. That is not democracy. This is financial obedience. The City of London has tied itself up in Israeli war manufacturing, directly and indirectly, mostly through trusts, Rothschild wealth, JNF structures and private equity. These are the same imperial frameworks used by the East India Trading Company. These arms companies operate through limited liability shell companies offshore. These government ministers own shares in those companies. And so every protest against the war machine threatens the Labour Party's funding model. That's the real threat, not the crowbar or the red paint. These are speech laws being disguised as security laws. But it's an attempt to criminalize criticism of empire, of Israel, of militarism. The new law criminalizes social commentary. It's criminalizing whistleblowing and protest and journalism. They want to silence you and they want you to be afraid of them. They want activists to self-center. You won't support Palestine Action because you might go to jail. You might stop funding them or attending organizations. Who wins then? Palestine Action are a protest group. They do direct action. They are aware of the personal risk when they break into a weapons factory or the offices of an arms company. They were able to shut down EBIT. EBIT is Israel's biggest. They've also targeted Thales, Teledyne, Leonardo, and RAF bases, who supply Israel. Their tactics include smashing the machinery, occupying roofs, painting, and destruction of private property. Not once has a protest or direct action led to an injury or a death. Their goal is to target the UK's complicity in the arms trade, the UK's complicity in the genocide. What's going on in Gaza right now? Well, we've 57,000 people at least dead. Most of them are women and children. Ceasefire talks are being deliberately delayed. Aid convoys are being bombed. And Israel does this with UK licensed components. Britain is selling weapons during a genocide. That's a breach of the Arms Trade Treaty. It is a breach of the Genocide Convention and international criminal law. Israeli soldiers themselves are admitting that they are being ordered to shoot at unarmed civilians who are simply trying to access food. These soldiers have openly described their orders from their superiors, you know, the elites, the army generals, the ones that financially benefit from infinite war. The soldiers are describing those orders as turning Gaza into Squid Game, like the TV series. This isn't leftist exaggeration, it's coming from the IDF. They are calling their own checkpoints killing fields. And they are openly speaking about it because many of them are starting to recognize the barbarism of this. Meanwhile, under two-tier Keir, activists are being labelled terrorists, while the bankers and the arms dealers get to profit directly and walk free and donate to the Labour Party. There's no law in Britain that imprisons a financier who funds a genocide. But if you throw paint at a plane, you can go to prison for 14 years. This is a two-tier system. This is hypocrisy. Criminalising protest while protecting genocidal finance. Labour has been captured. It's a war party. It's funded directly by Zionist capital and the global arms interests. Protesters who damage property, they're treated as terrorists, but executives, shareholders, and banks, they get knighthoods. Elbit Thales, BEA Systems, they supply Israel. UK banks, Barclays and HSBC, they move the money, they let this activity occur. These investment funds are offshore and they are able to discreetly route their capital from arms dealership into these think tanks and political parties with no legal risk. Not a single UK director or funder or bank has faced prosecution, but a documentary film risks being charged for inviting support to a terrorist organization. And now Palestine Action members, who their only real crime is having humanity, feeling disturbed over watching 2 years of a live streamed episode of the Hunger Games. Well, they can go to jail for decades for conspiracy to commit public nuisance. Where are the legal powers to criminalise war profiteering? There are none. The state was built to protect capital. If the law in Britain was morally consistent, every CEO and shareholder of an Israeli arms company would be prosecuted under Article 25 of the Rome Statute. This is individual liability for aiding and abetting genocide. They can also be prosecuted under the Genocide Act of 1969. This is UK domestic law. Even under the Terrorism Act itself, you could argue for facilitating acts of serious violence abroad. But instead, all two-tier Keir and his Labour Party warhawk machine government have given these people as public subsidies, taxpayer money, security contracts and police protection, and export insurance. So even when the RAF is broken up by activists, they literally just claim it back from Lloyd's of London. It doesn't hurt anyone. It hurts the narrative shield. The Terrorism Act is not about stopping violence. It's about stopping any political threat to violent power. Terror just means whatever embarrasses or obstructs the war machine.